Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. What a Sunday night football game. Thank you, football gods, for giving us this one. It is 1.5 all the way to 2.5 now in favor of Cincinnati. 50.5 is your total. Josh Allen not listed at all. No designation on the injury report, though we do know that there's something going on with his shoulder. It's just like, this little injury report game that these guys are playing, whatever. That's a whole nother podcast, but it's like, if Sean McDermott has to come on to a press conference and say, I'm going to trust what the medical professionals are telling me, and we feel pretty good about Josh and his shoulder, to the point where he's not even listed on the injury report a day later. Like, what are we doing here? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Josh Allen, not listed on the injury report, going to go. We get the very best sighting of Cincinnati last week. I was on it. I think y'all, Adam, you were on it. Everybody, it was just a very, very good performance up and down from Cincinnati in this thing. Steven, it is, I don't know. I don't guess it'll make it to 3, but it is 2.5 now at a couple of different places. As we know, the favorites tend to get bet in these standalone primetime games. So I don't know if we see this get all the way to 3, but that would at least, in my opinion, could change the handicap of where I got this thing sitting at 1.5.
So I think the line movement in this game this week is fascinating because the early money was on the Bills, got it off of 3. And now the late week money's coming in on the Bengals. And as we know, the limits go up later in the week, so you should care more about that than you do the early week movement. And I think, Matt, you tell me if you disagree. I think the side you land on in this game very much depends on your style of handicapping, because I think if you're using what the two teams have put on the field for the whole year and priors and the resumes that they put together, then you could very easily get to the conclusion that the Bills should never be 3 in this game. And that's why it very quickly came off the 3. However, the Breeders' Cup is this week, and I'm going to draw a comparison to something we sometimes do in horse racing handicapping.
Mr. Ed.
There is Mr. Ed. Yes. The wonderful Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
Sometimes a horse just has a bad race. Sometimes a good horse just has a bad race.
Of course.
And you just draw...
Of course.
Yeah, of course. So you guys are the best. Sometimes you just draw a line through that race and don't consider it in future races because it's the one that is the outlier and isn't what we usually get. And I'm going to sit here now after thinking hard about Buffalo early in the week and tell you that you really should just draw a line through the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season for Cincinnati. Just draw a complete line through it and just act like it never happened for this offense, because Burrow was a statue. He couldn't move. It was not him. I care more about the sample size of the past 2 years of what this offense has looked like when Joe Burrow was fully healthy. And if that is my starting point, then I can very easily get to Cincinnati as a small favorite in this game. When you combine that with the fact that the Buffalo defense still has major concerns at this point. Since week 5, they are 27th in drop back success rate. If you filter out garbage time, they actually dropped to 31st in drop back success rate. And the quarterbacks they have faced in that span, Trevor Lawrence, but also Tyrod Taylor, Mac Jones, and Baker Mayfield. Not exactly a murderer's row. So I landed more on the smaller sample of Cincinnati the past couple of weeks with a more healthy Joe Burrow, but also trusting what I know about this offense from what we've seen with many of the same parts over the past couple of years. And I think they're getting Buffalo at the perfect time this week.
Yeah, Adam, I'll let you give your spiel because I don't want to take away anything that you want to say in this one, but it's like I said, just we have 3 elite like in a week with so much trash, we have 3 elite games, so that is enough to kind of get me through. 1 in the morning window, 1 in the afternoon, so like we did good here.
So I have a horse racing analogy that I'm kidding. So
I have a 3-legged race analogy, actually. So when you
hello, get in the potato sack, buddy. Okay, so I should be betting Cincinnati in this game. I've largely adjusted back to preseason on Cincinnati. However, I'm not going to go all the way back to preseason on Cincinnati and then not adjust Buffalo down significantly as well because of the defense, as Steven mentioned. And so basically what I'm saying here is I'm trying to be a little bit respectful of my prior on Buffalo in this spot because I have to be a little bit respectful of the fact that I had them ahead of Cincinnati in my power ratings to start the year. And we have, a little less than half of a season of sample size. And I want to mention the Rasul Douglas addition that we talked about with Green Bay earlier, because this year, Rasul Douglas, among starters, has the 11th PFF coverage grade. Like, if he's able to go in this game, he's a non-zero factor in the Buffalo defense. And one of the things we talked about with this Buffalo defense is that in losing guys up front, guys at the linebacker level, and guys in the secondary, that you had taken away all of their ability to play the type of defense that they played throughout the season. That's what we've seen out of the Buffalo Bills. But my prior doesn't include Josh Allen's shoulder, and we don't know. And I got myself in trouble early in the year betting Cincinnati when I didn't know about Joe Burrow's calf. And so I ultimately have to pass on playing this game because of the uncertainty at quarterback for Buffalo. But if you did make me get involved in this thing, it probably would be with Cincinnati, because what you saw of that offense last week was so encouraging against San Francisco. You guys know, I'm on the air during the afternoon slate, and we saw Joe Burrow on a designed quarterback keeper out of the shotgun go run for a first down. And I looked at my partner and said, he's back, because that's the play right there that tells you that he's ready to go again.
Yeah, I'm all over Cincinnati in this one. It was the first bet I made of the week. I thought this thing would get all the way to 3 and maybe even test the other side of 3. I was wrong. I came back in for more as the limits increased, and I like Cincinnati a lot in this game. If you look, the Bills are injured on all 3 levels on the defense. And what we have to look at with the Bills from an offensive standpoint as well, guys, is one of the reasons that I was skeptical, and you guys were with me as we were doing previews, content and stuff along the way. One of the reasons I was skeptical about Buffalo coming into this season was the fact that they didn't address the second playmaker position in the offseason. And so they were going to rely on a rookie tight end to basically come in and have to fill that void. While Dalton Kincaid has been fine, teams have started to figure out that we're just not going to let Steph Diggs beat us, right? And so if you want to beat us with Gabe Davis and Dalton Kincaid and all the things or running your quarterback with an injured shoulder, go right ahead. We'll let you do that. And that's a major problem for this offense. And on the defensive side, like we mentioned, they're hurt in all 3 levels. And what better team to exploit that than this Cincinnati team at full health? I think we're seeing here, and outside of all the stuff that we've mentioned here from the offensive reasons that we like Cincinnati, guys, this bye hit them just at the absolute perfect time, right? So you get Joe Burrow healthy, you get T. Higgins healthy, but you also gave Lou Anarumo a week to figure out what the hell he was doing wrong. And I think we saw last week that he figured out some things that he was doing wrong, and they looked exponentially better on the defensive side of the ball. And they were making a lot of they were confusing Brock Purdy on a lot of key downs and distances. That is the thing that really is what NFL's made of these days, right? Like, they'll let chip down the field all you want to, right? But don't get us on the 3rd and 7s. Don't get us on the downs and distances that count, and on the field positions that count as well. And so for me, I think this is a very, very exploitable spot here for Cincinnati. And I think that Burrow and them, if you want to alternate play, if you want a long shot play in this, it's not very likely that Joe Burrow wins the MVP, but they are currently on a 3-game win streak. If they win this game in prime time on Sunday Night Football, and then they have a run of Texans, Ravens, Steelers, Jags, Colts, Vikings, Steelers, all of which are winnable games. not saying they're going to win all 6 games in a row, but all of which are very winnable games, and then sets up an at Chiefs in week 17 game with Patrick Mahomes, you're going to feel pretty good about having a 20-1 or longer on Joe Burrow from an MVP standpoint.
Well, that's the real question, though, Matt. With Patrick Mahomes, are we sure? Are we sure that the Chiefs could be done by that point? Like, this whole thing could be a wrap for the Chiefs, depending on what they do against Miami this week.
Well,
yeah, but is he going to sit 2 weeks in a row? Probably not, right? I mean, like,
I'm just saying you might not get a full Patrick Mahomes games, but point being, look at this game, but also pay very close attention to Miami, Kansas City if you're going to be talking about MVP race, because if Tua balls out in this game, he's going to be right back in there.
I think whoever wins that game is going to see their price shortened significantly between Tua and Mahomes. Like, whoever wins that game is the favorite, and probably by a decent margin. I agree with you, Matt. Like, if you just want to sprinkle on Burrow, just understand the losing quarterback in this Bills-Bengals game is basically dead for MVP because their team will have had 4 losses at that point. So whoever loses, I think, is totally done at MVP.
Yeah, but there's a difference between betting someone at 7-1 and 20-1, right? Like,
I agree.
Like if we're talking speculation, right? It's the path, like I just laid out, right? The path to Burrow getting there exists. It's not like we're just taking a long shot on somebody for the hell of it, right? But
we're also at the point where it's 1 strike and you're out. I mean, who cares? He could.
That's why it's 20-1.
Right. But if he loses this game, then he might as well be 1,000-1. It doesn't matter. Like, or he could his price could shorten. He was 80-1 a couple of weeks ago. I mean, so his price has already shortened a lot. That's all I'm saying. But I hear your point. It makes sense. The path is there for him to still do it. And among the guys outside that top tier, I agree that would be the guy I would take a chance on. It's just the path is narrow at this point, and he has to run pure.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but again, that's the reason why the number is attached to him as opposed to what it is for all these other guys. Yes, they are far more likely to win it, but again, the path is certainly there for Burrow to get there. And a lot of people don't want to put 4-1s in their account this time of year. If you want to put a 20-1 in your account, again, there's a guy that's very live to get it done.